Deadpool and Wolverine, the most hyped superhero film for this year, the film that everyone is saying will surely save the MCU and the superhero genre in general. Does that movie do that? No, not really. But it's still a fun movie that I recommend, even though it has its flaws for sure. Let me get into why.
This is what I'm talking about. Big slow motion action sequence. Who knows if you live or die? Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
Deadpool and Wolverine. A listless Wade Wilson toils away in civilian life with his days as the morally flexible mercenary Deadpool behind him. But when his homeworld faces an existential threat, Wade must reluctantly suit up again with an even more reluctant Wolverine. So yeah, there's been a lot of hype about this movie, especially with the potential references and fan service. And honestly, even though people were hyped for that, I was worried about that angle. I was worried that this movie was going to be more focused on fan service rather than just telling a good story with real emotion behind it. But I'm happy to report that relatively, and I emphasize relatively, that this movie had self-restraint with the fan service, which actually might disappoint other people. Because, first of all, the fan service in this film, there's actual real emotion and motivation behind like these cameos, references, and supporting characters, like not even cameos, like supporting characters that will catch you off guard. It was in service of telling a story that is a farewell, heartwarming goodbye letter to the 20th Century Fox era of Marvel films, as well as other Marvel properties outside of 20th Century Fox that came from like the early 2000s. Like I said, that actually might disappoint the more hardcore MCU fans because this movie had no intention and never did build anything for the future. If anything, this movie feels like a final chapter, not a door opening to new possibilities, which I didn't mind because I think it was executed well. But like I said, if you're a hardcore MCU fan, I think you are going to be disappointed by that. Now on to the real main attraction of this movie, I think, for a lot of people, which is Deadpool and Wolverine. Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool is great as ever. I don't have any notes for that. If you've seen the first two, if you love him, you're going to love him here. If you hate Deadpool for some reason, you're not going to like him here. It's the same as before, but I like Deadpool, so he totally works for me in this film. But standout for sure is Wolverine. And the big concern I think people had was how are they gonna honor the ending of Logan? Well, they honor that by not really bringing back from the dead. They have Hugh Jackman play a different Wolverine from another universe who in the story does learn of that Wolverine, the Wolverine that we grew up with in the X-Men movies and who died in Logan. And that's just on the narrative level, how they honor Logan. I think they do a good job in that. And in a way, it is kind of a quasi-sequel to Logan. But I think Hugh Jackman does a great job, not undoing that because I have to say his performance in this movie was surprisingly strong. I think a concern I had was, thinking that Hugh Jackman was just going to come in and just for the check and it was going to show in his performance. But I would argue that this is his best performance as Wolverine, bar none. Yes, more than Logan, no disrespect to that film. The rage, the pain, and like even the humor that comes from him being a straight man to Deadpool was phenomenal and perfect and rememberable. I think more people need to praise Hugh Jackman in this film because, like I said, I'm going to double down on this position. I think this is his best performance as Wolverine ever, which is sad because this might be his last one. It's truly his last one. But I think he really nailed the character in this film. And I also think the way the character was directed and presented was also the best we've seen Wolverine. Like I said, no disrespect to Logan. I love Logan. But this Wolverine, yeah, it just felt more comic book accurate, but still compelling and entertaining to watch. Not just through his costume, but the way he fights, the choreography, his animalistic behavior, the gore that comes from him shredding up people with his claws. That in combination with Hugh Jackman's performance, this was my favorite Wolverine portrayal. And I'm so glad this movie gave me that. It just makes me more excited or wanting to see a new standalone Wolverine film, but I don't want to get my hopes up because I don't think we're going to see a Wolverine film like this in the future anytime soon. It's probably going to be very sanitized. And overall, this film is very wacky, for lack of a better term. But I mean that in the best way possible. I mean, I'm not just giving spoilers, but there's like a third act battle, the final battle, and the way it was shot cinematically, like what you're seeing in the frame, like it's so bizarre and wacky. 20 years ago, they would never attempted to do this. But they did now, and it's just perfect because it's so comic booky in the best sense. And I know that like 13-year-old me would have loved and worshipped this movie because of it. And that's like the best way to describe this whole film. It's very comic booky, very wacky, very much like a Silver Age comic. And so I have to give it bonus points for that because I think it was. Not only did it do that, but I think it actually did it ironically in a sincere way. And I say ironically because we don't normally associate Deadpool with sincerity, but in this film it certainly is. But now I get on to some critiques I had with the film, because this film definitely has flaws, which sadly it does have to do with Wolverine. Now I did praise Hugh Jackman's performance, his excellent performance, the direction with the character, but in terms of the actual story and script, I have to say, the more I think about it, Wolverine in this film, he's not really a character, he's more of a prop. That's how I would look at it. In this film, Wolverine, if you watch the trailers, they say he's the worst Wolverine in the whole multiverse, right? He failed his world, he failed to save the people he loves, and now he's just kind of useless and reluctant to save people. Great. But the film never shows that through his character. The whole film, the characters are telling us how much this Wolverine sucks, but we never see that play out visually. The character is never really put in a situation that challenges him or where we get to see his principles or lack thereof. Really not only once, like at the end, but that's about it. By that point, it's like too little too late. Right? He really is more just as a novelty act, just so we can see, oh look, there's Wolverine next to Deadpool in the MCU. That's it. It really is a watered down version of Logan in that sense, because Logan, it's a very similar story. In Logan, we see a Wolverine who sees himself as a failure, who failed to save the ones he loves, and he's done being a superhero. But unlike Deadpool and Wolverine, we see Wolverine go through an actual journey where he's put in difficult situations, where his principles are tested, and he develops as a character and becomes the hero that we want him to be and what he thought he couldn't be. It feels very earned and organic. In Deadpool and Wolverine, it's not. It's just him standing around, swearing and stabbing people, telling us, looking in the camera, saying, I'm a bad person. But we never get that sense. And then at the end, he goes, okay, I want to be a hero, which the way he acts as a hero doesn't really seem all that contradictory to what we've seen before. So that I thought was disappointing. I think that's probably the biggest criticism with this film really was just the script. The story was really contrived. In the first third of this movie, there was so much going on with them trying to explain the multiverse and all of this jumping around that I was kind of lost. And I say this as someone who really does follow the MCU and superhero films. I'm no stranger to that. If you don't follow this genre and you don't follow the MCU, you are going to be lost for sure. You might catch up like in the middle of the film, but the beginning is going to be quite annoying to sit through, trust me. I also didn't really care for the motivations of certain characters, especially the main villain. The villain, without giving spoilers, like at the end, there are certain decisions that villain makes. All of a sudden, it comes out of nowhere, and like I'm just sitting there kind of confused, asking myself, why is this happening? Why is the villain doing this? Okay, I guess it's over. Like it all feels very sudden and contrived. That's really the whole story. And on top of that, I really didn't care for the humor of this film as much as like the other Deadpool films. More specifically, the first half. The first half, the humor, I'm not gonna lie, I felt was kind of lazy. I mean, imagine this. I'm not saying this actually happens in the movie, but imagine you're watching Deadpool and Wolverine and they just show, I don't know, Iron Man's helmet randomly. And then Deadpool would look at the camera and he'll say, look, it's Iron Man's helmet. And that's the joke. That's the joke for the first half of this film. But it really is just him just stating the obvious, and I just didn't think it was that funny. It's not until the second half that I don't know what happens. I don't know, they got this from a different writer or something halfway through writing, but then the humor really gets more edgy, more creative, clever, and witty, where I really was laughing a lot. So in the film's defense, it's not totally unfunny. It's just the first half. I think this movie was really struggling, in my opinion. But having said all that, I really did enjoy Deadpool and Wolverine. Yes, the movie is heavily flawed. Yes, this movie doesn't really do anything, I think, to build excitement for the future of the MCU. But I still really enjoyed it as a goodbye letter to the 20th Century Fox Marvel era. And I really did appreciate the chemistry between Deadpool and Wolverine in this film, which it totally delivers on that. And I think this is probably the most exciting Wolverine we've seen yet. And I think the fair score to give this movie would be 3.5 stars. It's a fun movie. I wouldn't mind rewatching it again. It could have been better, but it is what it is.
Are you ready? Fuck yeah, I'm ready. I'm the Wolverine.
Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know if you plan on seeing this movie this weekend. And if you did see it, did it live up to the hype? Does this movie make you more excited for the MCU in the future? Let me know in the comments. Hit the like button, hit subscribe. I'll see you next time.